been an RN. I have experience in hospice nursing, in psychiatric nursing. I'm also a musician. I have a bachelor's degree in music. Just so you know who I am, basically, I've done a lot of things. I'm a Jacqueline of all trades, basically. But to make a long story short, I have a critical mind, and I'm always looking for information and seeking the truth. And what I'm seeing is when the media is constantly feeding stories about what's actually going on, I take it and I go and I look for the truth. And the truth of the matter is there's several doctors and nurses and lawyers and other great scientists who've come out, and there are many of them, but I've compiled the best evidence that where I'm seeing, where I'm having grief, where I'm seeing that we're not being told the truth, is when I'm hearing firsthand, as we are coming together, our Weaver County is taking action. We meet together regularly. And I'm hearing from people, and there's multiple people in this room, that their children are coming home from school with headaches. Their children are coming home from school with anxiety, with trouble, just with, there's, dizziness. That's another one that we're seeing. And so I researched a lot, and the American Institute for Economic Research put out a fabulous document done by several physicians who've researched this, the actual risks of mask wearing. And there are many people in this room, probably everybody, who have the knowledge that masks are harmful and we do not choose to wear masks. Whether it's for a religious reason, whether it's for our health, whether it's for our conscience, due to, like the Utah Constitution says, Article 1, Section 4, the right to conscience shall never be infringed. And so when we go out to these businesses, like I tried to get eyeglasses a month ago, and they didn't know. They didn't know that they actually have an obligation to serve the public. And I sent you a document, the right to entry document, with 5 federal laws and 15 Utah laws that says they still have the obligation to serve the public. I, as a healthy American, have the right to have my needs met in this way. And being discriminated against is not okay for anybody in this room. Do you want to respond to this?
You bet. Happy to. So, Victoria and I have talked about this before, and so when the mask mandate is coming down, I received a whole ton of calls. Are you going to arrest people for not wearing a mask? And the answer was no.
Yes.
And we didn't, right? And then I also got questions that I don't know if this is your story or not, if it was somebody else, that someone was refused to come into, they wanted to go into a business, the business owner would not allow that person in there. That was you. Okay. So, okay, yeah, we talked about it. And can that person has a right to let you in. And regardless of mask or not. So I think I offered, if you want to file a complaint, so when you file a complaint, it causes a reaction of all kinds of things. And this comes back for me, which is hard to go on a scenario-based thing, because sometimes these things can constantly change. I don't have a crystal ball. But what we do have is we have property rights. If I own a clothing store, and it's my property, and I have rules, right? And I can not allow that person to come into the store. That's my right to do that. But when you get into, if you're not allowing this person to come in because of color and these other issues, that's a whole different matter. And so, you know, you see these signs, you travel throughout the United States, it says no shirt, no shoes, no service. You know, I haven't seen a lawsuit about that come through anywhere. And the ones that I've heard and seen, it all comes down to that's the right of the property owner to not allow that because of stuff that they're wearing. Right? And so quite the discussion that we had is I said, file a complaint, because I'm trying to understand this, because if you don't file a complaint, then we don't know the details. Because a lot of the stuff that I get is always one-sided. That's the awesome thing about law enforcement and the investigation process is we get to find out the whole story, right? Because scenarios are really hard but you need all the details. We had a lengthy discussion, and I think it was kind of, maybe this or that, but it was just hard to deal with. But there's laws that fit, and I know that Victoria quoted some federal laws, but in order to get this thing going, see, I don't deal with those type of things. A lot of times those cases are dealt civilly. You know, the only time it becomes criminal, so if you were to draw a scenario where someone wouldn't let you into their business, you know, that can be a civil matter. But if you're assaulted during it, then it's a criminal matter. That's why I try and stay out of this stuff unless it has to do with the criminal, because we're good at criminal law. But when we're talking about lawsuits of this and that, or it's technically civil in nature, that can turn to criminal, then it's different. But I don't know the whole story.
Yeah, Jerry Chapman. Along with what you're talking about there, you know, there hasn't really been much contesting of no shirt, no shoes, no service. But what we saw, we talked to a lady in our group one day. It was part of the lawsuit against the governor for his mandates. And so when this mandates expired, he didn't do the mandates, he pushed it off to the health department. So what we're seeing is these things and these policies, these edicts being put off to people who aren't accountable to us. And then the next step isn't from them, it's putting them off to the corporations. So the corporations requiring masks or passports. Are they going to demand burqas? Where does it stop? And so when I look at it, 20, 30 years ago, Clint Eastwood had like 3 businesses in Carmel. Somebody in a wheelchair rolls up, can't get into his business because he doesn't have all the ADA, all the ramps, all the this, and they sue him and make money. Then they reel off to the next building and do the same thing there. So I see at some point, are we going to get in this big nightmare where we have to go file complaints against every business and do what the ADA people did 20 years ago to get this thing turned around. I love what you guys did in the Second Amendment, but the battle here isn't being fought with bullets, and it's not going to be fought with bullets. The federal government knows if they came to Weber County, they don't have a chance. I mean, I was able to replace all my guns that burned in Paradise in 2 weekends here. That would have taken 2 or 3 years in California. God bless Weber County. But it's our other constitutional rights and our other amendments that are being infringed upon. Maybe not necessarily just by government right now, but they're pushing it off to the health department. They're pushing it off to companies to do it to us. And they're taking our right to speak and talk about any opposing thing. Facebook and all these things from, taking Trump off. Almost everybody I followed on those accounts. I was on Facebook or Twitter for maybe 6 months. And in that period, everybody that I listened to and followed is deleted. That's where our amendments. So how do we put them on the offense, on the defense, instead of us always having to work on the defense. And so I think your Second Amendment sanctuary is the first start in that, but it needs to go farther to the other rights that we have.
Currently, the Sheriff's Association is drafting a letter to address all the constitutional issues. And there's everybody wants the language to be proper, because we know it's not just the Second Amendment. Once we do the Second Amendment, someone say, well, why not the Fifth? Why not the First? Well, so our director is drafting a letter that covers the sheriff's stand behind the Constitution of the United States in all aspects. Yes, we're doing it. It is a great first step, but that seems to be the big one right now.
It's the lowest hanging fruit, and he's just one to grab it.
It is.
Yeah.
But then again, there's a part of us, the sheriffs and law enforcement, we don't want to get into that political arena, but we felt it was the timing we needed to. We have to.
Thank you, Sheriff, for being here again. My name is Luke Eyre. I'm an active member in Weber County. I've been living here for 6 years. My in-laws, who I live close by, have been here for decades. And so it's a wonderful place, and we love it. Thank you for what you've done so far. And I appreciate your answer to the question on the mask, because that's clear. That also helps clear up some of my mind. It's true what he said. Unless it becomes a criminal matter, I mean, it's civil. And there is processes that we're learning, and we're going to start holding them. Go ahead.
Just that's the struggle that we had, law enforcement locally, is when they put the mandate out, they never made it clear that it was criminal or civil. So I sarcastically thank them for doing that, because now I get calls about, it's not a criminal matter, it's a civil matter. But you wonder why they put it out like that, right?
Yeah.
It's frustrating.
Very true.
Yeah.
So I have 3 questions, if that's okay. So I'll start with a simple one that's also just a little concerning in my mind, and I want to just get your feedback and opinion on it. That's SB 102 about the Dreamer. They try to make it about Dreamers, but where they're going to allow foreign nationals that aren't U.S. citizens to be law enforcement on our streets, where that's very problematic in so many ways, in my opinion. I mean, who knows? Yeah, they point to the Dreamers and they say, hey, yeah, these Dreamers want to be police when they, grow up and become a citizen. Anyways, so what's your feedback and what's your feeling about that, and why would they do that?
I know probably as much as you just said about that. For the way the law's written, you've got to be a citizen of the United States to be law enforcement. Right now, they're trying to change that. I know the sheriffs have voiced concerns, because last I heard, they wanted to put a time limit. Like, well, okay, you're here, but you've been here 5 years, so then it's okay. So we see a lot of bills that come before us, and it draws a lot of attention, but by the time it gets to the end, it's changed so much. So I know what you're looking for, but it always changes. And I support what you're thinking, I support what you're saying, but I don't support anything that alters the Constitution.
I appreciate that. Thank you. The second question I have, I'm sorry, I was just thinking about it, and I have one after.
You have 2 more, right?
Yeah, I have 2 more. Yes, I have 2 more, but there was one that I wanted to put before my last one, and also I'm like, oh, okay, sorry. So the last one, the second one I have is, with everything going on, obviously the media have their agenda, and for whatever their reasons are, and we can all have our theories based on our own research. But the other thing is, with everything that supposedly went down on the 6th and at the Capitol, there's been a nonstop from all the political levels and from the media and from everywhere attacking militias. It's in the Constitution, it's in the state constitution, it is our right, it is part of the Second Amendment, it is why the founding fathers didn't want a standing army, because we are supposed to be able to help the sheriffs, the police department, our government, if in the case of an invasion, in case of any kind of situation. So what are your feelings on the militia? Like an actual militia, not
It's your right to
Yeah.
do it. Why should I stop that?
Okay.
I was trying to think when it was. It's probably been a couple of months now that Huntsville has a quasi, they call it something like civil defense, and there was some criticism on Facebook, surprise, right? You know, this is an army forming, they're gonna throw on their guns and block roads, they're gonna do all this stuff, and, you know, Sheriff, you need to stop that. Stop what? That's their right to do that. But if illegal activity comes out, it's different. And I'm not saying that's what's gonna happen. But when a public that wants to know now, and they think they know the future, and everything's absolute, black or white, they want me to stop it because if this is formed, then this is what's gonna happen. And that's not the case. You know, it's that old movie with Tom Cruise where he could see the future because he saw that you were gonna make some crime, they could go arrest you now.
Yeah.
I don't know what that, minority, we're not minority report. And so I told the person on the phone that it's my responsibility, again, to hold those doors shut so this group can do what they want to do.
Thank you, I appreciate that. And in regards to that, are you open to discussions and working with militias to have a flow of information and understanding between each other?
Of course. There may be a time that the sheriff may need to deputize some people. In fact, during the protest, I'm not going to repeat some of the calls. I mean, they were wonderful to hear, but they were quite interesting nonetheless. You know, when you hear about a posse comitatus, or posse, right? You know, sheriff, let's get a posse going. And when I hear posse, I'm still thinking about bonanza. So in today's world, it's different, right? I mean, most of those people became posse members because they were already at the bar, they were already drunk, and sure, you know? And they were very helpful. It was great. But now, we have extremes on every end, right? And we have them on the left and we have them on the right. And I'm not saying they're necessarily bad, they're just, some can go way off. And if I started forming a posse, and nowadays, you know, I mean, what are we getting, right? You know, in the old, 150 years ago, you knew everybody. I don't know everybody. But if you do form a posse, we've talked with our staff. What would a modern day posse look like? And actually, the VIPs, I don't want to tell VIPs they're going to be deputized, but we have a working group with the sheriff's office. We know who they are, right? So they would probably be first on my mind. So swinging back to you said about the militias, I would love to have a quarterly militia meeting. What are you guys doing? Not to spy on. Hey, this is the sheriff's office. What are we doing, right? So we know each other. So if the time is needed to call up, we want the right people who can do the right job. If we can.
Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you. And then the last one's a little bit, we'll just go with it. So,
This is number 4, just so you know.
I'm
kidding.
So, in regards to the current state of affairs and the awakening or the people coming to understand more and more about what's going on, and because of the things that are going on, they're researching, they're learning more about the facts. And with the facts, you learn the truth about where we're at in our government and how we're set up. And when you learn about that, you also find out the truth about your status as a citizen of the United States of America, all upper caps. And you find out other paths, such as state nationalism and becoming a state national. So are you aware of that? And if you were to run into somebody that is a state national, how would you handle it?
We treat everybody like we treat everybody now. I mean, this is a country that's a country of laws, right? the awesome thing about the scales of justice, as we all know, is she's blindfolded, right? She doesn't know what color or religion or whatever you are. It's based on the law, right? That's what we teach and we enforce at the sheriff's office. Sometimes those other things are added into the narrative that don't belong because there's the accusations that come. But however this individual group approaches whatever's going on, again, we're guardians, right? And we want to stay out of their way. But if there's a law that's violated, a constitutional law that's violated, we will act accordingly. But you have to understand, the law enforcement, we don't really want to be in your lives. We love to be called on for help. But if your neighbor's sprinkler is hitting your yard, we get called for that amazingly a lot of times. And it's funny, but sometimes we do have to go because the neighbor's so fed up that if he talks to him, there's going to be a fight. So we go as a guardian, but we don't want to come to all this. When I talked about 25 years ago versus today, a lot of the issues that we're dealing with now is citizens are giving their power and authority to us to make their decision for them because they won't or they can't. Or they're scared to. We get a lot of anonymous calls about neighbors doing stuff. But that, again, it gives this power that should be given to us. Where's the responsible that handles the issue? Responsible person, accountable, right? It's just hard. But then we always do the what ifs. What if this neighbor gets all bent out of shape and takes a pipe to the other one? Then you need to go there. But sometimes there's influence there that shouldn't be there. Neighbors, people used to solve a lot of their own problems. We don't do it like we used to.
Just a quick follow-up to that one is just, I appreciate your response to that, very valid. The difference that I want to clarify is on his thing about the law. A state national is no longer underneath the same jurisdiction, and so a lot of the policies that are perceived as laws are sometimes could be tried to be enforced onto somebody who is no longer required to follow said policies. So they're following the Constitution, they're following all the laws, the United States Code, the state code, but some of the policies no longer apply. Would that be a problem thing and take some learning for the two to get along, or how would that work?
Well, I listened to someone talk recently about the Constitution. And the key about the Constitution is the principles and the things that are declared in there. That's what unites us. We get off on these other ideals and stuff, but we can unite together if we follow these principles. And a lot of times we're not. We're adding policies, we're adding all kinds of stuff. We're defining what safe really means, right? That's where it gets muddy.
Thank you.
Your hand is up?
Oh yeah, you pretty much said it.
Okay.
Is there a way that we can work together with the police department in support of maybe giving them some more additional education and training on what a state national is and how to deal with that if the situation were to come up? Say on the highway, for example. There's a video of a
So when you say a state national, we may have a term for an individual like that, a constitutionalist.
Well, we have an open invitation for you, Sheriff. Glad you asked. Sheriff Mack is someone who won a case in the Supreme Court involved in the Brady Bill for one of the questions that we asked him. He's coming to Utah at the end of June to teach law enforcement and the people constitutional law enforcement and upholding rights, and for the people to know their rights as well. Because I think that's part of our problem, like you said. Some people are ignorant of their rights, and then they rely on you and they give you the power that should be theirs. So,
Do you know where that meeting is going to be held?
I'm going to be contacting Sheriff Mack. His team, Robert David Still, has reached out to people, and they would love to have a sheriff and their deputies come to the free training. So I'm going to be emailing you the information. that I have about Sheriff Mack and getting you two in touch if you'd like that. We would love to have support and build this power back where it belongs, is with the people. And then educate our public servants correctly, and then correct any mistakes that may be being made in the violation of our unalienable God-given rights. So with that, is there anybody else that has a question, or I think we're probably on an ending point, on a point to wrap up, or so one more here? Okay, this is the last question.
Thank you. Well, not so much as a question. Sheriff, I've had remarkably good contact with two of your deputies from the south end of the county. And now that I've seen you and heard you, I'm equally as impressed. And thank you very much for your presentation. My experience in law enforcement goes back beyond 50 years ago. And you mentioned 25 years and 150 years. It falls somewhere between there. I have a quick question. You mentioned volunteer programs. Did you call them VEEPs?
VIPs,
VEPs.
Volunteers in Police Service.
You have cold case VEPs.
What's that?
You have a cold case. Are you working any cold cases? Do you have a cold case section?
We have a cold case officer in our office, yes.
Do you? You want a vet?
Bring it on.
All right. Thank you, Sheriff.
Thank you.
I think we're going to go ahead and wrap it up. We appreciate the sheriff for coming out. We will be watching, and we will be happy to work with you. We're both unraveling and crossing bridges, building bridges to work with law enforcement, and we're committed to that. This group is we met mainly through takeactionforfreedom.com, but there are other initiatives being started nationally. County by County is an initiative that will bring people together, and I know there's others as well. So what I have for you is we have some education material to gift you, as well as a present for being here today. So we'd like to, again, have you all please show your gratitude to Mr. Sheriff Arbon.
If anybody wants to stay and follow up on anything, either wasn't answered or provide more detail, my schedule's clear. I'll stay as long. I'm here for you, so I'll be here longer.
So I just wanted to let all of you know that we have another event here tomorrow night that you might be interested in. Dr. Richard Proctor, does anybody know him? He's a good speaker on the Constitution at 6:30. And that'll be free. So we love to have these educational events. That's why Liberty Hall is here. So we appreciate donations. Maybe tomorrow night we can have the bookstore open. I've got to be to a board meeting in a few minutes, and Molly's with me. But we just want you to know that we also have a new project called Loving Liberty Ladies, and there's some wonderful, strong ladies in the room. We would love to have you go to our website called lovingliberty.net and get involved with that. And I also wanted you to know that we have a very special friend in the audience at the back of the room, John Reynolds. He's been very instrumental in organizing National Days of Prayer. So just a reminder, this Thursday is National Day of Prayer. So I'm sure we'll all want to join together in prayer. And then I just wanted to let you know we have a new addition here at Liberty Hall. That beautiful wooden flag. I have 2 versions of that. And a friend brought them here to just make them available. They're $100, and if anybody's interested, just let us know. But those are brand new to Liberty Hall. So thank you, Sheriff. That's great today. Thank you all for coming.